I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really...
There's nothing to do, but damn, like, what else do you gotta do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion.
You looking small? What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small? Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this.
Fighters are scared of Terence Crawford because of a number of insane reasons. Roy Jones Jr. even said that Canelo looked uneasy when facing him before their fight. What makes Crawford so dangerous is not only his talent, but also how calm he remains while studying every move. He hardly ever takes a clean shot and uses perfect timing to punish mistakes, leaving opponents believing they have no chance to win.
And that stare down that we talked about when I told you either he's not ready for this or he trying to little boy Bud. He wasn't trying to little boy Bud. He really was afraid, well, not afraid, but he was worried about Bud. And Bud knew that. And Bud being the older guy, Bud kind of looked him in his eye and made him turn away first. That was a victory for Bud. That was Bud's first victory. Anytime that happens, if something else don't come around or something else don't happen to undo that, you got a problem.
Paulie Malignaggi pointed out how Terence Crawford has built one of the most impressive records in boxing. He became an undisputed champion 3 separate times, something rarely seen in today's era. He did this by challenging top fighters instead of choosing easy opponents. What stood out most to Paulie was not just Crawford's victories, but how he avoided damage, rarely getting hit clean while dominating in the ring. His record says it all: 41 wins with 31 knockouts and no defeats. Paulie called this run historic and said Crawford's recent win over Canelo was more than just another result. To him, it marked the beginning of a new era, much like when Floyd Mayweather ruled the sport. In his view, Crawford has now become the defining fighter of this generation.
Flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, you know, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, you know, oh, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather, and how that would be, because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. You know, I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation, I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible, really, really incredible. And I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous, tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And it's a fight we'll never get to see. So what are we gonna do? You know, it'll be up to the fantasy fights. You know, but let's get into it, man. I want to get into the undercard as well and some of my thoughts on the Netflix show. But let's get into the main event first. Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly at the whole fight. You know, he got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but they barely moved.
Brian described how amazing it was to watch Terence Crawford face Canelo, noting that it is rare to see such a perfect balance of defense and offense in modern boxing. Usually a fighter is stronger in one area and weaker in the other, but Crawford showed both with precision. Against Canelo, he proved he could block attacks with solid defense and smooth movement, then quickly switch to offense and punish every mistake. Brian explained that this complete skill set is what separates Crawford from many champions, because he can shut down an opponent while building his own momentum. For him, it was incredible to see a fighter not only avoid damage, but also control an elite opponent with calmness and skill.
As much as I watch offense. So, yeah. Like, I thought, like, watching Bud catch those shots off his glove.
He looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo. Ever.
Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
which is why he probably won't fight him again. In a way.
They'll fight again.
You think so?
The payday, yeah. But so you're gonna get Canelo because the money's in Canelo Crawford, the rematch. I don't want to see it, but I want Crawford to get paid, so might as well do it.
Andre Ward praised Terence Crawford as the most skilled fighter of his time. Ward, who is known as a master technician himself, pointed out Crawford's mindset, saying that once he decides on a goal, he will push through anything to reach it. In Ward's view, the only way to stop a fighter like Crawford is by actually hurting him in the ring, because strategy alone will never be enough. Crawford's ability to switch stances, adapt, and think clearly under pressure puts him in a rare class of fighters who can take control no matter the situation. Ward's words showed that Crawford's success is no accident, but the result of determination, toughness, and an unshakable drive to overcome obstacles.
I can bet the house on it's Bud.
Who's the most skilled fighter today?
Bud is definitely one of them, for sure. Me and him, we so much alike in our mentality. Like, soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room, we start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So, skillful, yes. But this and this.
No.
Crawford's journey has been personal and shaped by his family's influence. He often remembers how his father told him early on that he would one day become an undisputed world champion, planting confidence in him from the start. His mother, on the other hand, was doubtful, never fully believing he could reach the top. Instead of breaking him, that doubt became his motivation. Every time he entered the ring, he fought with the drive to prove her wrong. With each victory and every title, he not only lived up to his father's belief, but also earned his mother's pride. Now he looks back with satisfaction, knowing his success brought both respect and validation from his family.
How'd that make you feel? It filled me with rage. And every time I step foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to her.
I paid the kids, I said, if y'all can whoop Bud, I give y'all $10 a piece. Canelo whoop.
You went out on the street.
Yeah.
What's now Bud Crawford Street.
Yeah.
And offered $10 to anyone who can kick my son's butt.
Yep.
And a lot of takers.
Yeah, the kids in the neighborhood. Couldn't nobody whoop them.
What did he tell you then?
He told your mom, I told you I'm the best.
Crawford explained that he never aimed to become undisputed at 154 pounds, because he felt there were not enough competitive fights in that division. For him, being undisputed is not just about collecting belts, but about doing it against the toughest opponents. Instead of staying at 154, he chose to move up to 168, where he sees bigger challenges and stronger names that can further build his legacy. His decision not to move down shows his confidence in taking on higher weight classes, making sure his career is remembered for ambition and risk-taking rather than comfort and easy fights.
Being undisputed at 154 ever crossed your mind at this point that you at in your career?
Not at all, because I'm looking at the landscape of the 154-pound division. There's a lot of great fighters, but there's not a lot of defining fights at 154. There's not a lot of legacy fights at 154. You know, when I'm looking at the landscape of 154, I beat, what's his name?
Majimov? No, 154?
No. The champion that just knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Oh, Bachram. Yeah.
Okay, so Bachram, they're gonna say, who is Bachram?
Facts.
He knocked out Tim Tszyu that already had losses.
I would put you down with Fedora, though. They're gonna...
But Fedora already been knocked out.
Yeah, he did that.
So, along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments.
Crawford has also taken time to display the belts he earned, not as bragging, but as proof of what years of effort and dedication have given him. Each belt stands for more than a win, it reflects the struggles and sacrifices behind it. For him, showing those titles reminds fans and critics that nothing came easy. He fought tough battles, faced doubt, and overcame obstacles to claim every piece of gold. His belts are symbols of discipline, hard work, and belief in himself, and they now inspire the next generation of fighters who want to follow his path.
I'm just reflecting on all my accomplishments at my mama's house. That's where all my belts at. You know,
hard work, dedication. Things that y'all favorite fighters, some of them, on God. So I see why y'all mad. See why y'all mad. We look at that one right there. This where it all started at. Right here. This one. In Texas. In Texas, baby. Don't hate, just congratulate.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., a rising star in his own right, gave Crawford huge credit for his latest fight, calling the performance absolutely beautiful. Ortiz said Crawford proved everything in that fight and no longer needs to face more opponents to confirm his greatness. From his view, Crawford has already secured his legacy and does not need new challenges to be remembered as one of the best. Hearing this from a young, ambitious fighter shows how much Crawford's dominance has impressed the new generation, leaving them amazed at what he has already achieved.
Who's going to look for the right hook? Because I believe that they've been looking at Crawford being hurt by that right hook before. So he neutralized it. He used his jab really well. He boxed beautifully. And, man, I mean, he did everything right. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Crawford first, because obviously we can get to Canelo later, but in the post-fight, they asked him, a media member asked him if he'd come back down to 154 to fight Boots. Obviously, in the same token, I took it as, all right, Boots or Virgil, right? And he said he's not coming back down to 154. What are your thoughts on him not coming down, and what do you think he will more than likely do next?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I did read something that said he'll go down to 160, you know? And I think that is definitely a possibility, and you know, that fight can still happen at 160. And as far as what he's gonna do now, I mean, I don't know. He kind of beat the final boss of the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's kind of nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, I mean, what else do you got to do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion. He made some good money. At this point,
Crawford's influence on boxing has created a ripple effect with fighters from other divisions now eager to face him. Sebastian Fundora, known for his height and aggressive approach, has already shown interest in fighting Crawford. This shows what many call the Crawford effect. When a fighter reaches a level of dominance, others want to test themselves against him to earn respect. Instead of Crawford seeking opponents, fighters are lining up to challenge him. It's a clear shift that highlights the power and influence he now holds in the sport.
In full effect, okay? It's in full effect. Terence Crawford now is a wanted man. Prior to that, everybody said Terence Crawford is not a draw. Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is not a big money fight. Now, we have an interesting situation brewing. The former unified WBA, well, WBO, WBC, junior middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar or star boxer, the towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora, refused to fight Terence Bud Crawford, who is now, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt, the pound for pound king, 4-division world champion, 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, with a record of 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. When Terence Crawford dominated and stopped The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., in July of 2023, Terence Crawford petitioned to move up and fight the towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora, okay? And Sebastian Fundora has zero...
Oshaki Foster admitted he was surprised at how Crawford shut down so many doubts about his career. For years, critics argued that Crawford had not faced enough top-level opponents, or that he might fall short against elite competition. His recent wins, especially over Canelo, proved he can dominate even the most established champions. Foster noted that Crawford not only erased those doubts, but also set a new standard by showing his value on the biggest stage. To him, Crawford's journey is proof of persistence, turning doubt into undeniable respect.
They definitely doubted, bro. And he told me months ago that he was gonna do that, and he went and did that. That shit, you know what I mean? And they doubted him a lot throughout his career. You know what I mean? Just a lot, and just a lot of people that I look at that's great fighters. They've been doubted. You know what I mean? Same thing with Floyd. They had the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosley, the Trinidad. They all was putting them above Floyd and all this woo-de-woo. You know what I mean? So I just feel like getting doubted is a great thing. It gives me, you know what I mean, that push. So, yeah.
If you think it would look that, I ain't gonna call it easy, but I felt like people didn't think that Crawford could do it that clean. Did that surprise you?
No. It did surprise me that he stayed more disciplined. Like, I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna do what he was doing, and then, you know, Terence got hard. He trying to bang it out, especially if he feel played enough. He feel like you feel like you doing something, he gonna come with it stuff. So I thought that was gonna be a problem. Like if Canelo landed a punch, he would try to go in the trenches with Canelo. And that's what I would have been scared for him for. But man, that boy stayed sharp all night, man. That boy looked good, man. I can't lie. He looked good. Sure. I was definitely surprised at how smooth, how easy he beat him.
Blair Cobbs and Conor Benn had strong reactions after Crawford's win over Canelo. Cobbs called it a defining moment, while Benn suggested that Crawford should even think about retiring now and leave the sport on such a perfect high. Benn's remark was not criticism but recognition that Crawford's career already looks complete. In his view, there is nothing left to prove. Crawford could step away today and still be honored as one of the greatest ever. Their comments show the belief that Crawford's legacy is already secure no matter what comes next.
Bail out on that beautiful sunset and retire. He's done a lot for the sport, and there's really not too much else that he can possibly do in the sport of boxing outside of make a beautiful retirement and leave a legacy of fighters that aspire to be just as great as Terence Crawford, like myself.
Has Canelo's legacy been damaged after that or not?
Not really. I think that Canelo is still a terrific and a fantastic athlete that's spent a little bit too much time at the table of boxing, and right now is his time to make his.
Not everyone agrees with the idea that Crawford is unbeatable. Some analysts argue that even though defeating Canelo was historic, it does not mean Crawford cannot be beaten. They note that boxing still has many top fighters who could challenge him under the right conditions. To them, the win was great, but not final proof of invincibility. Boxing is always unpredictable, and even the best can be tested. This view reminds us that while Crawford has reached amazing heights, the sport will keep presenting new challenges, keeping the debate about his legacy alive.
If he goes back down there, he's the best guy in that division. I think it's safe to say that. But I do think that a lot of those guys will be very interesting and potentially difficult style matchups for him. They'll be more difficult than a Canelo fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but just go and look at the fight with Madrimov if you don't believe me. Long story short, beating Canelo Alvarez doesn't mean that Crawford is unstoppable or unbeatable. Yes, he's one of the best fighters of this division, one of the best fighters ever with his achievements, but it doesn't mean he won't lose before the end if he fights the wrong guy. At the very least, it doesn't mean he won't have a harder fight than that Canelo fight. And to finish this video, do I think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather? Do I think now that he would beat Floyd Mayweather if they were to compete at 147? Well, I think Crawford at 147 is the best Terence Crawford in terms of his attributes, his style, and the strength and power he has at the weight. I think he's probably unbeatable at 147 in this era. It's because he's going up the weight style we're even having this conversation, to be honest with you. But I do think he's an all-time great. I do think he's in the conversation, which is the best you can do, because we can't definitively say who beats who in a fantasy match. That's why I really don't like them. I've been asked a few of them recently, and I just, without studying and then without actually getting the chance to see it, I just don't really like going there. But we'll do it at the end of this video anyway. It's definitely a conversation to have whether or not he's better than Floyd Mayweather, because he's done it without these rehydration clauses. He's done it. He hasn't really cherry-picked, although I would say, to be fair, look at Crawford's record. He has fought a lot of guys where it's been the very end of their career. Welter, you know, Sean Porter, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they're all great names, but none of them were in their prime anymore. But Crawford did it so emphatically, and the way he beat Errol Spence as well. Again, he'd had his issues, but again, the way he did it so emphatically, the way he passes the eye test every single time, you have to assume that he's going to do it no matter who he's facing. I do think a fight between him and Mayweather would have been very, very difficult to call.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next one.